Hi Facebook, I'm Ellie Frost, and this video is about why success is a now decision, not when I clear my messes up, because I'm looking at this month with my clients, and August has been a really intense month for a lot of people, where a lot of stuff's been coming up, a lot of old stuff, a lot of old patterns, a lot of old kind of thinking. And I know that really it's what we move towards that makes the difference, not what we try and fix. Because if we focus on clearing up our messes, not saying that we shouldn't be doing the work every day, we shouldn't be working on ourselves and moving ourselves into the energy we need to be and the mindset we need to have. But that's not a reason not to take action and step into what you want, because so often we'll say, well, I'll go towards my dreams when I pay my debt off, or when I've got the money, or when I feel better, or when I've got over all my anxiety. And it just doesn't work like that, right? You're going to have to move forward with it. You're going to have to work on it as you go. But it's not about fixing, because when you're focused on fixing your mess, paying off your debt, having the money in place, having all the right mindset in place, right? You're focusing on the problem. And the more you focus on what you want to move towards, the more it's going to bring about in your life. And you're going to have to do it not knowing how it's going to work out. That's the key, right? It's not always going to be lined up for you in a way that you can see it. So you're not going to necessarily know what all the opportunities will be. You're not necessarily going to be able to know how it's all going to figure itself out, because you've never been there before. That new space, that new energy, that new place you're going isn't somewhere that you've been. So you're not going to see it all in advance. You're going to have to keep stepping in and moving towards it and focusing on moving towards it and aligning with it much more than you're focusing on clearing up your mess. Because the challenge is, when we have challenging times, and I know August has been one of those times, we are so tempted to then look at ourselves and go into this mass fixing mode and clearing up mode, right? And I'm not saying that you shouldn't be fixing those things or shifting those things as you go, but nothing will shift you further than moving towards in full alignment. And that's about focus. It's about, I'm not going to focus on the mess, I'm going to go forward in spite of it. Even if I'm feeling really fearful right now, even if I'm feeling really uncertain right now, I'm going to find a way to move forward, because we only become that bigger version when we declare it to the universe. And we only declare it to the universe by taking an action in alignment with it. So we have to take a big leap sometimes, and we have to take a big leap that feels uncomfortable sometimes. And it feels uncomfortable because it's a new us. We haven't done that before. But the minute we do that, we know ourselves as something else, right? We know ourselves as the person that moves forward despite our fear. We know ourselves as the person that has managed to move forward despite not having whatever we thought we needed to have. And in that space, we can then attract and create whatever we need. But by using the things around you as a reason not to step into your dream or not to take action and move forward, you're making those particular circumstances or those things have more power than your vision. And that's not the right way to really create it. It's going to slow you down. Step into my reality and give nothing to the unreality. Exactly. So look at your excuses, and give them, minimize them, up the threshold, right? So at the moment I'm moving countries, and I'm moving countries on Monday, and people around me are saying, oh God, that's a huge big thing, and blah 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 blah. But I can't operate like that, right? It's not a big thing to me, nor is taking financial investments, I suppose, that people would consider big. I minimize them. For someone like me, I say, well, that's not a big thing at all. Minimize the stuff that you don't want to be a big deal in your life. If you want to expand, you've got to look at it differently. We have to feel like it's not a big thing. Don't make a big deal out of it. Do not put drama in your life, right? Because where you put drama, the more we will experience more ease and flow, the more we can minimize drama. So look at what you decide is a big deal and decide to make it less, even if that's your own fear, right? So now if I get fearful or kind of, a lot going on, I don't make it a big deal. I don't make it mean anything. Fine, I can process my emotion, but I don't make a big deal out of it. I don't make it mean anything at all. I can just say it means nothing to me. It means nothing. So what? It means nothing. Disempower the things that get in your way. Do not put energy on them, process the emotion that you need to process, but do not allow things to be bigger than your vision and your dream. I don't care whether it's money, whether it's circumstances, whether it's clarity. You've got to say, right, okay, I'm going to move forward even without the clarity. I'm just going to do what I feel called to do next. I'm not going to need to see it all ahead of me. The more you can let go of how and just stick with that feeling of what it is, the more you can just decide, no matter what, I'm going to step into it. The more the universe can just bring you unexpected circumstances. But when we cling on to, well, I need to have this particular person in place and this particular event in place and this particular bank account in place, right? The more we're making our vision conditional, and the universe can't bring us the serendipitous, amazing, miraculous opportunities and events that we could never have envisioned because we're completely clinging on to it has to be this way. Don't get fixed. It doesn't have to be any particular way. In fact, if you can decide everything's always working out for you, which it always will be, then, you know, align with your vision, know that's the truth, and then be very open to receive what could come to you. And it can only come to you when you're free, when you're not conditional, when you're not saying it has to come this way and it has to be by this event and it has to be by this amount of money, because you just close the door for anything else to come. So just keep stepping into what feels right. You know inside what you want to do. You know inside what's calling you. Do not get attached to how. Keep moving towards it and releasing and opening up to endless, limitless possibilities to how that can manifest. Because, you know, there's a lot of talk about what's scarcity and lack mindset. In a nutshell, anything that isn't limitless possibilities available to you is scarcity and lack. So you can really be quite clear about that. At any time you're not feeling like there is limitless possibilities available to you, you're in scarcity and lack. That's pretty bold of me to say that, but that's really kind of how I feel, because the way it works is kind of like that. Minimize the games. I did that today after the call. Unreality arrived and I just made that decision. I'm not listening. I don't see it. Yeah, it's okay that it shows up, right? And the other thing that we were talking about in that call, wasn't it, was it's also, and it's not about resisting where you are, right? So wherever you are, it's about saying, right, I'm completely okay with where I am. And it's good to be okay with where you are right now because it's all you've got. So any resentment about it, any resistance to it, just let it go, because it's absolutely safe. It's perfectly okay. It's absolutely perfect for me to be exactly where I am. It means nothing about where I'm going. And at the same time, I'm not resisting it. You can completely accept where you are and not feel that that's going to in any way stop you moving forward. In fact, if you can get into that, I'm completely okay with where I am, because come on, it's all we've got, right? Where you are is all you've got. So you better be okay with it. Get okay with it. Stop resisting it. A lot of the resistance is when we're pushing against where we are because we think we should be somewhere else. You are, you know, just honour where you are, love where you are. So what? Give it no meaning, because when you're really tuned into your higher being and your power and who you really are at source, no circumstance mean anything to you anyway. You know, nothing in your life means anything about you. It doesn't mean anything about what you can create. It doesn't mean anything about what you can do. So if you're looking at your circumstances and going, oh, I don't like this stuff, like, what is it? Like, just give it no meaning. It doesn't mean anything. Even if you've gone through a rough patch this August, like a lot of people have, give it no meaning. It means nothing. I went through a shift. Or give it a positive meaning. But don't get attached to it, because nothing you've ever done or experienced has to have any particular correlation to what you're going to go on and do unless you choose to give it that. And you really don't need to be limited by your past, right? That's only what you've known so far. So don't give the events, the circumstances, the obstacles, the things you think are reasons to not step into your vision any power, because they really don't need to be. And the switch comes when you do that. But the calling is always to become something else. And we only get that opportunity, right, when we have to step in, even with the fear, even with the obstacle, even with the uncertainty, even with the perceived risk. That's when we really get the chance, the opportunity, the real opportunity to be bigger. So, you know, our opportunities come in the form of those obstacles often, right? When we have to step in without the security, without the certainty, with the fear, without being perfect, without doing everything we thought we'd do at this point to be our, you know, in a, you know, completely, I don't know, playing our A game. We play our A game when we step in with all that stuff going on, and we still decide to play. We still decide to step in. We decide to make certainty or security or whatever other stuff we've got Not a reason to stay where we are, but we keep moving because everything requires movement. Growth requires movement. It requires shedding. It requires letting go. It requires stepping in. And I don't know, like most people, they say to themselves, when this, when that, when, right? And then they wonder why they can't make things happen fast because you're making it all conditional. You have to decide to step in now with everything you've got, emotionally, financially, or haven't got, whatever your responsibilities are. The people that really make things happen fast is because they step in with all of that, right? They don't make those things a reason not to. They don't buy into other people's drama. They don't buy into other people's limitations. Well, I couldn't do that if I had kids, or I couldn't do that if I didn't have X amount in the bank. The people that really make it happen fast, they decide that those aren't requirements for them and they're going to do it anyway. And people call that risk, right? Well, you only are in risk if you're not coming from faith, if you're not in tune with your intuition, if you're not in alignment, right? And when you're aligned, it doesn't mean you never get fear. It doesn't mean you never get resistance. That doesn't mean you're not aligned. But when you know it's true for you, when you know it's there for you, when you know you feel called to it, you can never go wrong by following it. I make it inside myself, even if there's nothing outside to support it. Yeah, because nothing outside is real. Like, all that actually matters is our experience. And that tension and resistance comes when we sit on the fence and we give our power away because we say, well, I can't do this because of this. Telling yourself you can't do something that your soul wants to do, that you feel called to do, is never going to make you feel good. So you've got to tell yourself, yes, I can. And then often we get like a lot of, resistance or fear around, okay, well, I'm not ready for that, I can't be that, and it's just because you're doing something new. So no, you're not supposed to feel completely okay sometimes with it, because what's being required is a new version of yourself and you haven't been there before, so it's meant to feel a bit tingly, but at least you know you're growing at that point. At least you know it's growth. And we're so scared to fail that we think, oh, but if it goes wrong, then that would have been such a big mistake, because we've got such a lot of judgment around what we do. It's never a mistake to follow your heart. It's never a mistake to go on path. It's never a mistake to learn the lesson you need to know, so that if anything didn't work out the way you wanted, that next time you'd be able to make it happen. But that's the mindset, that's the requirement. Being so scared to get it wrong just gets in your way. You're never going to get it wrong if you're committed to getting it right. You're never going to get it wrong. If there's things you need to learn along the way, you'll be shown those things, as long as you're prepared to play. But if you're going to allow the outside things to be so scary and so important, then then just know that's going to slow things down for you if you're going to keep making it conditional, because how we do one thing is how we do everything. So if you make it conditional, so right now you might say, well, I'll step in when this X, Y, and Z happens, for example. But next time there's a chance to step in, you'll make it conditional on something else. There'll always be a reason. So what you can decide is, I'm going to step in no matter what, right? Nothing outside of me is bigger than me. So if I feel called to do it, I go for it. I just go for it. I'm going to do it anyway. I'm always going to just do what feels right to me anyway. I'm always going to find a way. I'm always going to know that I'm going to be supported. I know that I'm created enough in that space. I know that that's the alignment. I'm not going to get stuck. I'm not going to stay still. I'm not going to buy into my old programs and ideas, right? Because my capacity for anything is only what I know it right now as I am. Your capacity at the next level for abundance, for creation, for whatever you want is different when you start stepping into your bolder, bigger self. So what you can create now is no reflection of what you can create as you decide to step in further to what you feel called to do and that bigger vision. If we don't take a risk, there's no risk when we've got faith. It's other people's ideas, and you really want to be careful about who you listen to, because people judge risk. How is there a risk if you're following your heart? Risk is like, risk is always based on probability. So it's like, I've worked with investors before, and if you look at investments, you come up with a figure on probability. So how likely is it to fail or succeed, right? So we're always judging risk that way. And what we as people, as individuals, fail to kind of really understand is we're not judging our risk in a very kind of balanced way half the time. We're just saying, oh, it's unknown, it's scary, but we don't really know, we don't even really tend to look at it properly in terms of, well, what are the true chances of this working out? We just tend to go to dramatic kind of assumptions about, this is new, so it's really scary, so it's really risky, so I'm going to end up like desolate if it doesn't work out. We go to real extremes often in our mind, right? But we don't actually balance or even look at it if we were going to assess it as a risk. But there's no risk when you follow your heart. There's no risk when you follow your dreams. There's no risk when you're on a path, when you're committed to it, because the only risk is that, for me, that I wouldn't follow my path, that I wouldn't follow my dreams, that I wouldn't achieve my vision, right? So I'm here to do what it takes. I'm committed to doing what it takes. Every time I've fallen down on my face, which I have, you know, is the lesson that I needed to learn, is the faith that I needed to develop, is the muscle that got me stronger, is another reason why I would step in. It was so interesting talking to someone last week, and they were telling me about how they'd done something, and they'd, you know, like a lot of us, and, you know, it hadn't worked out exactly as she wanted. And so the pain of that was so big that she was sort of saying, well, I'm never going to do that again. But of course, the whole point is everything she learned up until that point is lost if she doesn't, you know, utilize it, because of course she's got a whole new insight now. And I was sort of listening to like what she'd become since then and what she knew since then. So we're not supposed to waste our insight. We're not supposed to waste our lessons, right? It's not a reason to give up because something didn't work out how we thought it would. If you can understand that it works out perfectly to give us the lessons and the learnings that we need, then you don't get so hung up on it. It's kind of like, okay, cool, so that's what I needed to know. So okay, cool, what feels right for me? Am I still aligned with this vision? Is it still in my heart to do? Am I going to still be prepared to believe in it? Okay, cool. So, and actually when we often look at what has and hasn't worked out, that we tend to make very dramatic. For most people, not everyone, I'm not saying that some people haven't had some, you know, bigger falls, but for most people the falls aren't that big and we get really kind of hung up on them. Now, you know, I'm not saying that it's not possible to fall hard, right? It depends on what game you're in, but getting easier with that. You see, how do you make it easy when it's hard? Well, you choose to. You know, when people say, oh, it can just be easy, it really, really can just be easy. But the ease of it isn't about the circumstances not be challenging. It's about how we minimise those circumstances. Don't make them into a drama, that we actually put our threshold so much higher as to what would trigger us. So therefore, the ease comes when we choose it, when we choose not to get into resistance, when we can choose to navigate ourselves, when we can choose to minimise whatever it is, so that whatever the hurdle is, you know, that we might have been programmed or heard other people saying, well, that's a really big deal, we choose to make it not a big deal for us. It's not a big deal for me because I know who I am. It's not a big deal. Okay, cool. It's a big investment, but it's not a big deal for me because I know who I am. So that will change things if we can just step into it. So just minimise it. And that feels wrong to a lot of people who have been taught, you know, that there's such big scary things and there's certain things they need to be very responsible about and that kind of stuff. But you can only play a bigger game. If you think about, okay, so Richard Branson or a big entrepreneur, how do you think they see like the kind of investments and the things that we might think were big investments, not very big at all, right? And you can say, well, that's okay for them because you know, they've made like they're a billionaire. Well, that's not true. If you look at how they behaved at the beginning, it's exactly the same, right? The mindset is the same. So you have to cultivate the mindset you want now. It's not conditional on outside circumstances. It's not conditional of how much money you have. It's the mindset that creates the results. It's the alignment that creates the results. It's the commitment to the vision that creates the results. Yeah, we are absolutely supported. It's just that we have this really strange human idea of that we need to judge things as good or bad. So I tripped up, I experienced pain, this didn't work out as I thought, so I'm now going to label that as bad, rather than understand that that was totally required for my growth. I absolutely needed that. Thank you that I fell on my face, because now I know where I know a space where I'm not going to trip up. We just interpret things with judgment. We need to let go of that judgment, because often our judgment's off. Our focus is off and our judgment is off. If you're focusing on fixing, clearing up your problems, clearing up the mess, you're not focused on your vision, and that's what's going to hold you back. If you're judging things as good or bad in your past, in your present, in your future, or judging yourself in the same way of, oh, if I do this and it doesn't work out, then I've got it wrong, I'm a failure, then that's what's holding you back. Let go of the judgment and let go of the fixing. Don't fix, move forward. Focus on the vision more than you focus on the mess. The mess is the mess, right? The mess is the thinking you have that created the mess is probably the thinking you're still in. So go with the vision and the thinking of that, and the mess will just fall away. It won't be relevant. It won't exist anymore. And with the judgment stuff, you know, stop judging it. you can't get it wrong if you're being yourself, if you're on path, if you're following your vision. You can't get being you wrong. You can't get learning your lessons wrong. So there's no good or bad. We just have to let go and not buy into that and just be, you know, it's not listen to those noises, not listen to those voices, because most of the people that are stuck in that kind of thinking, you know, they're stuck in a certain kind of life. And if you want to create a different kind of life, you've got to think it like a very different kind of person. And you can't buy, you know, if you want ease and joy and fun, like fun is massive to me. I have a lot of fun, even though you could look at the business. I run 2 businesses, and you could think, well, God, how can you have so much fun around that? Well, because I really don't dramatize things that other people think are a big deal. Like, I just have to minimize that drama in the life. And drama becomes like a kind of addict thing, I think, in our society, where we're kind of addicted to it. And it's also a source of almost like self-esteem for people, like to kind of dramatize and play the victim and make things a big deal. And I'm not saying that there aren't some real challenges in life. It's just, but it's always about our perception, and how much they take over us is how much we judge them as a big deal. So by minimizing them, it's not diminishing that we, you know, that they could be challenging. It's just diminishing the power they have over us, right? You don't want to give anything power over you, because from that creative, powerful self, you can dissolve and resolve anything. But allowing things to overpower us just gives our power away. And buying into drama, unless it's positive drama, it's just not very helpful, right? Because it gets us into fear. That's the challenge with the drama. It just puts us back into fear. The more we dramatize, the more fearful we become, because we start thinking, oh, this is a big deal. I should be scared about this, right? It's really big. People really reacting to this now, so this must be a really big deal. And that kind of drama just puts us back into fear, and fear gets us stuck, and fear robs us of our dreams and our joy. So it's okay to move forward with the fear, but let go of the drama around things. Minimize what things are. Remember to tune into that bigger version of yourself. Think like that billionaire. Think like that person that would look at your problems and your small investments and think, well, that's not a big investment, just go for it, right? Because if you don't think from that place, you'll never get to that place. You've got to think from that place now, from where you are. You can't be thinking like the small person that, I don't know, invests like, I don't know, whatever amount it is, and then starts panicking, because that's thinking from the place that you're at. You've got to think from the place where you want to be. And the same with the uncertainty, you know, from that space of the person who can make it all happen, then you wouldn't be worried about the uncertainty, because whatever time you've got, you're going to make it happen. Time's a kind of weird thing, because people often think, well, if I've got 6 months, and, you know, that's enough time, but if I've got 3 months and I couldn't. But often we'll do whatever time we have, we'll make the most out of. So you can't make it conditional on time either. You've just got to know where you are, be okay with where you are. Where you are is all you've got, and then adjust your thinking around what's required from here, and that's all that's needed. Yay. That's my little Thursday rant. Is it a rant or a rave or a little make it happen? Hey, Maddie. So have a great day, guys.